Testing. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the field for today's coin toss. The officials for today are referee Jeff Davis, umpire Paul Raven, linesman Bill Carson, line judge Greg Lutz, field judge Dakota Tomlin, side judge Gary Moore, back judge Jeff Nance. Today's captains for the Battling Bishops are number 6, Chaz Hirschman. Representing the Knights, number 2, Chase Wester, number 7, Jacob Taloa, number 12, Joel Freeman, and number 23, Jacob Wood. In accordance with tradition of Southern Virginia University, we will begin with the word of prayer, which will be offered by Parker Buell, engineer from Frisco, Texas, and a member of Southern Virginia University professor. Now, if you all please rise, remove your caps, and face the flag. Performing the national anthem is the Southern Virginia University Marching Band. Thank you.
Welcome to Buena Vista, Virginia, and the fields of Southern Virginia University for today's NCAA Division III Gridiron matchup between the battling Bishops of North Carolina Wesleyan and your Southern Virginia Knights. I'm Dawson Weidrich, and I'm joined by assistant softball coach here at Southern Virginia University, Colby Kemp. It's a great day for some football, Colby.
Yeah, it is. We got some great weather, a little wind, but it should be a good matchup today. Looking forward to a couple of keys of the game. First off, we'll be waiting to see if this young offensive line from SVU might be able to find their groove and provide more time to quarterback Colton Shumway and open up some running lanes for our running backs, Jacob Wood and Alex Langtree.
Absolutely. The first 3 games of the season, the Knights have had a hard time establishing that run game against all 3 of their opponents. The one rushing touchdown for Southern Virginia coming from quarterback Colton Shumway. So it should be interesting to see how they handle that. And North Carolina Wesleyan deferred to the second half, so the Knights will start off the game with the ball. Here's the kickoff. Southern Virginia fields it to the 15. He's got a running lane. And thrown down at the 24-yard line. That was number 9, Jarique Washington. Jarique Washington is an exciting talent for Southern Virginia, one of the leaders in receiving. And so you mentioned the keys to the game for Southern Virginia. When they scouted the Bishops, when we scouted the Bishops this week, what are some things you noticed here that we can talk about?
Well, we'll be able to find out right off the bat if this offensive line is going to be able to open these holes here as we start off on offense today. It'll be key to just get some room, let the speed of these running backs get into the open field and see what they can get away from the defense.
Because one of these things that North Carolina Wesleyan has really struggled with so far this year is defense. Their opponents have scored around 38 points per game. And then again, they've played some really tough competition outside of the conference, this being the first conference matchup for both teams, as that was ahead for a 2-yard gain for Southern Virginia out to the 33. That was Jacob Wood on the carry. Jacob Wood leading running backs in rushing so far this year. And we were talking about Colton Shumway before the game. He had gotten banged up a little bit last week against Randolph-Macon in a very intense game that Randolph-Macon ended up running away with in the third quarter. And so we'll have to see if he's able to perform a lot today. But instead, in his stead tonight, or so far, is Isaiah Maxey at quarterback. Maxey rolls out to his right side. He's going to pitch it short to Jacob Wood. And he gets smacked after a gain of about 6 yards. He was tackled by number 4. That was Jaden Denmark, junior from Monroe, North Carolina.
It's a good idea to get the new quarterback out of the pocket a little bit, let him run, create some room, and find Wood for a little gain there. Bring up a little shorter third and 3.
Especially when you mention the young offensive line for Southern Virginia. When you have an offensive line that's struggling, it's always nice to get some bootlegs, get them outside the pocket, get to where you can get away from the defensive line and that defensive pressure. So 3rd down and a long 3. Maxey drops back to pass, throws across the middle, a little behind wide receiver number 2, Chase Wester. And tonight starts off with a 3 and out, but not some bad plays here. They got some good momentum, some good positive yardage. I think that's a good start when you have a quarterback that's just getting into the game for the first time.
Yeah, he had him open for the first down, just quite could not connect. And so we're left with 4th down, but so far a positive start to the game for the offense.
And so we'll get to see the Battling Bishops with the ball now to start this one. And the Battling Bishops offensively this year really struggled. They've only averaged about 4.5 points per game. They've only scored 2 total touchdowns this season. Again, I mentioned they faced off some really tough opponents early on in the year. Southern Virginia gets that punt off and brought down immediately. That was number
33.
Number 3 for Southern Virginia. That is Stockton Ferguson getting there, being Johnny on the spot. On that return is number 81, Mikhail Atterbury, the sophomore from Blackville, South Carolina. So the Bishops will start on their own 37-yard line. Handing off at the middle to number 7. And he's going to get stopped right at the line of scrimmage. That was Trevin Crank on the run. And he is, in fact, he's going to lose yardage on that one. We have a Knight down on the field. This is number 28, Jonah McFarland, the senior from Salt Lake City, Utah. We weren't able to see exactly what had happened on that play, but starting at quarterback for the Bishops is number 6, Chaz Hirschman. The Bishops have had sort of a revolving door at the quarterback position so far this year. They played 3 different quarterbacks early on and have gotten a lot of playing time for all of them. And I think a lot of it has to do with the offensive struggles for the Bishops, again, only attaining 2 touchdowns in the first 3 games of the season.
Which the timing of this game could be perfect then for the Knights. One of their defensive keys for today's game is to being able to come up with stops and make sure tackles, something that has hampered them in their first few games.
In fact, I believe Coach Militalo put it very simply. We got to tackle well and protect the ball on offense. Very simple things that every coach is going to say, right, when it comes to any sport. You got to, make sure you get stops and protect the ball. Don't have any turnovers or make any mistakes. As you see, number 28, Jonah McFarland, getting off the field under his own power, which is great to see. But in any sport, it's always the fundamentals you go back to.
Absolutely.
2nd and 10 for the Bishops.
Great to see him come off on his own power after that first stop of the game.
2nd down and 10 for the Bishops. Drop back pass throw to his right side. That is complete, and he's going to forward ahead for a first down pass midfield. That was number 87, Ashton Horton, the freshman tight end from Elgin South.
Number 22, Dylan Andrew with the stop. 1st and 10 Bishops.
And he was able to break away and find a little open space on the field, and the quarterback hit him. We'll need to shore that up with our corners here as the game goes on.
A great quick release from Chaz Hirschman on the right side. He's going to hand it off once again to the right side. And he's stopped by number 21, Nate Mattis.
Number 7, Trevon Crane.
Nate Mattis has been a consistent key for this Southern Virginia defense for the past couple of years. We've called his name several times in these broadcasts.
2nd and 7.
But only about a gain of 3, so 2nd and 7 at Southern Virginia's 45-yard line. Hirschman in the gun. And they're going to have a penalty flag on the field.
False start. 19 on the offense.
So we have false start.
Replay. 2nd down.
That is on Ernie Revels, the senior fullback from Pembroke, North Carolina. That'll set him back 5 yards.
Penalty brings up 2nd and 12 for the Bishops. Ball on the field.
And when you have some positive momentum like that first down pass edged a moment ago, and then you have a penalty, that's always going to set you back. That kind of changes up your plans as a play caller. You have to be a little bit more conservative. Try to just get some extra yards to get yourself back in a good 3rd down situation. And they're going to set up the screen on the right side. Beautifully set up, but stopped short of the first down by number 99, Kemani Vaivai.
Well defended by the outside. Keep him short of the first down and keep him into a 3rd down where the Knights can look to get the ball back.
I'm really liking the play call from North Carolina Wesleyan right now. They realize that offensive line-wise, they haven't been able to protect the quarterback, so they're getting these quick releases, these quick outs, these screens. They're taking advantage of the pressure that is being put on their offensive line. Hand up the middle. He's got a thing in ahead for the first down, just a gain of about 5. But Crank is going to get a first down for the Battling Bishops.
Gain of 2 on the play. Number 33, Cole Oldham with a stop for the Knights. 1st and 10 Bishops on the 37-yard.
And now the Bishops are knocking on the door of the red zone. Hirschman in the gun, Crank to his right. He's going to roll to his right side. He's got a couple men open. Toss across middle, immediately tackled by number 22, Dylan Andrew. Pass received by tight end number 82, Caleb Logan Jr. from Gates, North Carolina.
Like you mentioned earlier, Dawson, the Battling Bishops are doing a good job of just taking what this Knight defense is giving them.
And it's a great first down play to get yourself in a second and short situation. Now your playbook opens wide up. You can basically do whatever you want in this next play. Another penalty. Looks like it'll be another false start on the Bishops.
False start. 37 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Replay. Second down.
That time is the freshman fullback Demarius Robinson guilty of that.
Second and 7.
And just as I mentioned, the advantage is getting such a great first down play. Now you completely negate those advantages with that penalty.
It feels like the Knights are just one defensive play away from maybe gaining some momentum here.
I absolutely agree. They've been giving up small chunks here and there, which has been good for the Bishops, but at the same time, they're not giving up the big plays yet, which is one thing, of course, you don't want to see from your defense early on. 3 receivers to the left side. A soft snap, pass across the middle, and I believe he stopped just short of the first down marker, maybe right at it.
Bishops, number 21, Cecil Witt.
That was Cecil Witt Jr. on the reception for that one, making a third down and barely a yard.
Stopped by the Knights, number 37, Roberto.
I've liked the fact that we've seen 2 penalties from North Carolina Wesleyan so far today. That's put them back, but immediately they have a positive play that gets them back into position where they needed to be.
They've gotten that yardage back both times very quickly and put them into a good 3rd and short situation.
A stacked set. They're going to hand off up the middle. A solid first down run, gain of about 10 for halfback Trevon Crank.
By the Knights, number 7, Jacob Talone.
And North Carolina Wesleyan's really stacking the offensive line, really trying to get that surge in the middle. Again, just utilizing their personnel, realizing maybe they have some weaknesses and putting in some extra fullbacks. In fact, I believe on that set they had 2 fullbacks in the backfield.
2 fullbacks. They've gone to that left side several times on this drive here.
So first down and 10 on the Knights' 20-yard line. The Bishops knocking on the door. Going to hand off to Crank up the middle. He's going to get about 5 yards on this one. He kept pumping his legs and get to about the 15-yard line.
Gain of 5 on the play.
The problem so far that I'm seeing is that the Knights are getting bodies on the runners early on in the play. It's just Crank has been able to keep pumping his legs and get those extra yards after contact.
Absolutely. I was just about to say the Knights have been making good contact, making that initial tackle on the runner, but he's carried them 2 or 3 yards several times.
Hirschman back to pass. To fade to the backside. Batted away. That is number 4, Seth Massey, the freshman from Gulf Breeze, Florida, on that defense.
By the Knights, number 4, Seth Massey.
And that was so impressive. He had to turn his body around, put his hand up, tap the ball away. Very athletic defensive play.
Very well defended by the young freshman.
And I think Hirschman also threw it a little too far to the inside. You have a fade, you usually want to aim towards the sideline, give your receiver the best chance to get the catch, but it was too far to the inside. So 3rd down and 5 for the Bishops. Hirschman back to pass. He's got pressure. And he's going to throw it into the ground. Looks like it was intended for number 18. As Quentin Wright was the intended target. So 4th down and 5. Looks like they will send out the kicking unit for the Bishops. This is his first field goal attempt of the year. He's hit 2 extra points. The field goal is up, and it'll be wide right, so that drive comes up fruitless for the battling Bishops of North Carolina Wesleyan.
First and 10 Knights on the 15.
Overall, pretty good initial defensive stand by the Knights. Their defense, it did bend a little bit, but it didn't break and came up big, stopping them short on 3rd down and forcing the field goal attempt.
Exactly. That's where you want your defense to perform the best, is in the red zone. Make sure you keep those 7 points off the board and just give yourself a chance to not be down in such a hole. And again, the fact they missed the field goal makes it that much better.
And now we'll see what the next opportunity brings for this Knight offense as they take the field again.
Isaiah Maxey come back in at quarterback for the Knights, starting off 1st and 10 at the Knights' own 20-yard line. And this should really be an interesting game for the Knights. Again, Colton Shumway has been the big chunk of their offense all season long these first 3 games. Maxey hands it off to Jake Wood. He's got a good run down the sideline, out close to the 30-yard line and near the first down marker.
Gain of 8 on the play.
Just pushed outside by the last defender. Otherwise, he was up for a great big gain on that play.
Ended up getting about a gain of 9 on that one. Great first down play. Put yourself in great position in this drive. Got 2 receivers on the near side. Sending Washington in motion. Max is going to hand it off to Jacob Wood again, and he's going to pile forward again for a first down close to the 35. And like I mentioned before, with Colton Shumway not playing in this game, you got to imagine the Knights offense is really going to rely heavily on the running game with Jacob Wood, which is, again, the main thing I said before the game started was one of the Knights' weaknesses so far this year is relying on that run game.
Absolutely. When you're missing your starting quarterback, you are going to rely on that running game, and the offensive line has been a little suspect thus far this year, but on that first opportunity right there, they opened the hole up for the first down.
I believe there'll be a flag here for false start on Southern Virginia when the offensive lineman got a little too excited. It is a false start. We did not hear what player was guilty of that one.
5-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
Have some technical difficulties here. But indeed, it will be a false start on Southern Virginia. That'll make it 1st and 15. So after a good set of downs where you got the first down with a bunch of run plays from Jacob Wood, all of a sudden now you find yourself in a 1st and long situation. Maxey back to pass. Beautiful throw across the middle. That is number 88, Clinton Boxley.
Very good throw, right on the money. And the receiver made a great catch. He caught it with his hands and immediately got hit by the defender, but was able to keep the ball in possession to the ground.
Boxley came to this game with 69 total receiving yards and 1 touchdown. And again, with the speed and velocity to that throw, hit you right in the chest. That's just a beautiful play. Hand off to Jacob Wood once again. He's going to keep turning his legs. He's going to maybe fall forward a couple of inches at best. As the Bishops were ready for that one, I believe number 41 was on the tackle there, Deontay Lucenti.
Tackled by number 41, Deontay Lucenti, and number 46, Nick Hudson.
It's now a 2nd down and 9. Got wide receiver Woodson Francois here on the near side. Got a trips left. Hyder goes in motion. Maxey back to pass. Crossman once again a little bit behind to Chase Wester. Similar situation to the drive before where they were on the 3rd down play, just a little bit behind him.
He made his read. He had the receiver open, but just couldn't quite connect. Threw it just behind him, like you say, Dustin.
And it is kind of difficult when you're a freshman starting in your first game of the season. You kind of have to catch up to the speed of the game. At whatever level of college football, there's always a speed difference going from high school to college. Same thing from college to professional. And that's a speed you have to catch up with.
Absolutely. Regardless of the sport you're playing, there's always a difference in the speed that the game is being played at.
Max looks to his left side. Again, a little behind number 17, Adrian Howard.
Intended for number 17, Adrian Howard.
As they'll make it a 4th down and 9, and the Knights have to punt it away. So after a solid couple of set of downs, the Knights will have to punt it away, unfortunately. Again, both teams have some good offensive momentum, just not able to capitalize on their drive so far.
Both teams have moved the ball a little bit. The good thing is for both teams, too, is neither one of them has made any mistakes thus far.
That is a very good point.
It's been a well-played, clean first quarter so far.
Knights will punt it away. It is a pooch punt. And it's going to take a friendly Southern Virginia roll inside the 10 to the 6-yard line. A great reversal of the field for Southern Virginia.
Down at the Bishop
It didn't have quite the air time that you would like in a punt, but it sure had the distance they wanted.
It was not the prettiest punt by any means, but it got the job done.
And so first down and 10 for North Carolina Wesleyan at their own 6-yard line. And when you're back to your own end zone, every football fan knows that offensively there's a lot of pressure. That's where you feel the voice in your head saying, don't make any mistakes, don't make any mistakes. And so North Carolina Wesleyan has to sort of put that aside out of their heads, because you're trying to tell yourself to not make mistakes. That's when you often do make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Hirschman hands off the middle. Stopped after a gain of about 1 on that carry.
Number 20, Miles Martin.
Not surprisingly, a very conservative call on first down by the offensive coordinator for the Battling Bishops.
That was Miles Martin on the carry, the freshman running back from Easley, South Carolina. And that tends to be what you see down here on your own side of the field. You're very conservative. You don't want to take too many risks. It's usually about 2 run plays. If you're forced to pass it, try and get a quick out. Nothing to where you're sitting back in the pocket and possibly get a safety.
Just gain a little room, first of all.
Hurst going to hand it off once again. He's going to get a surge and make it about a 3rd down and 4.
Gain of 4 on the play.
Again, the Knights defense stands the runner up close to the line of scrimmage, and he falls forward, like you said, for a couple-yard gain, but the Knights are still in a good defensive down and distance here against the Battling Bishops.
Exactly, and so in this situation, I would expect maybe a screen or kind of like on the first drive, they had a tight end escape from the backfield and go to the flats. Hirschman in the gun. Drops back. He's got a wide open tight end near the first down marker. Kind of like what I talked about. He kind of escaped, found his way out to the flats. Everybody else is covering downfield. It's a great play design where he sent 2 receivers deep and 1 tight end underneath.
Yeah, likely a miscommunication by the 2 defenders on the outside. Both went deeper with the receiver that went deep, and the one that stopped, he was left alone, was able to make the catch for the first down.
And that was caught by tight end number 87, Ashton Horton. Actually, it was tight end number 82, Caleb Logan Jr. So first down and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Bishop's able to get themselves out of that hole they were in. Hand up the middle once again to Martin. And he's going to fall forward for another 4-yard gain. Again, they get about 3 to 4 yards every carry. I mean, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but every coach would be more than happy with that.
Especially when they started back at their own 6. Here they are. They've gained now about 18 yards on this possession. Give them some more room now. They can start to open up the playbook.
We got 2 receivers on either side. Play clock winding down with 10 seconds left. Hirschman's going to hand it off to Crank, and he's stopped right at the line of scrimmage. You could hear that thud from a mile away. My goodness. Makes it 3rd down and 6. And again, if you're Southern Virginia, this is exactly where you want to be. 3rd down, a little bit of distance. Now you know there's more than likely a pass coming. You know what to look out for now. They have tight ends sneaking out to the flats. Keep your outside linebackers in that area.
See if maybe we can get after the quarterback here on this play.
Hirschman back to pass. He's got a little bit of pressure. Goes to his left. Another wide open tight end. That is once again Caleb Logan Jr. He's been a go-to early on for the Bishops.
Forced out of bounds by number 11, Josh Thompson. Brings up first down for the Bishops, 34 yards.
But I do think you're right, Colby. I think there's sort of miscommunication at whose responsibility it is to stay in the flats with the tight end. And the Bishops, again, it's great play calling. You're seeing a weakness and you're exploiting it.
It allows the quarterback to have a little bit of comfort in the pocket. He knows he can survey to see if there's anything down the field, but know he can always come back to that short receiver.
Crank on the ground. He's got a solid gain there, but he's tackled by number 24, Elijah Tassini from Euless, Texas.
Stopped by the Knights, number 24, Elijah Tassini. Gain of 4 on the play.
Let's make it 2nd down and 6. It's been a consistent pattern for the Bishops. They've gotten about 3 or 4 yards on first down on the ground. They're able to get about 3 on 3rd down, and then they go to the flats. Let's see if that pattern continues here.
Yeah, they've done a good job of not getting behind the chains.
Hirschman back to pass. Throws it to the fullback who escaped out of the backfield. That was complete to number 19, That is Erne Revels, the senior from Pembroke, North Carolina. Again, they're loving those flats right now in the passing game.
It was good to see the Knights had 3 defenders there when he made the catch there, able to rush and make the tackle before he got downfield too far. Leave him with a good situation here in 3rd down, and what is that, just a short 3 yards?
So it'll be 3rd down and a long 3 when we get back to the action, but now timeout for both sides. So far, it's been the type of back-and-forth battle we expected. Both teams, again, having 3 losses to their record, 0 wins. Both teams trying to prove themselves. And in a game like this, you kind of get to feel like your conference a little bit. Because, again, we mentioned before, the other 3 teams that both these teams have played have had to play against really difficult out-of-conference teams, mostly in the New Jersey Athletic Conference. So now you get to see where you fare in your conference standings.
Yeah, I think both teams are excited to open the conference here today. Like you and I were talking about before the game, not a lot of wins to be found by the USA South Conference. You know, a lot of 0-3 teams right now. And so I think both teams are happy with their performance so far here in the first quarter. The keys of the game, they seem to have corrected a lot of the keys of the game, or at least playing within those keys of the game.
Yeah. And one thing for these 2 teams is that they both suffer from something I like to call just simple inconsistency, right? We talk about Southern Virginia. In their first game here at home, they played a very solid first quarter. In the second quarter, they let up a lot of points. Third quarter played very solidly, and fourth quarter gave up a lot of points. And so you got to have your defense playing strong and playing good fundamental football all 4 quarters of the game. And that goes for both sides. And so we'll see how the second quarter fares for both. Hirschman back to pass. He's got a receiver down the left sideline, and it's complete for a 1st down. And he's going to waltz out of bounds. That is receiver number 1, Sean Washington. Washington's one of those players I mentioned before when we were talking, how he's a dynamic weapon that could very much be exploited for the Bishops.
Yeah, he got behind the defense there pretty easily. Again, had to be some sort of miscommunication by the backfield.
Hirschman, great throw right between the free safety and the cornerback in that perfect empty space. You expect to target him a little bit more often. He leads the team in all-purpose yards. He is one of their kick returners. He is their lead receiver. Hirschman's going to play action, pass to the right side, and it's incomplete, but somehow caught by number 3, Storm Yarbrough. So initially it was intended for number 21, Cecil Witt Jr. It falls out of his hands, falls into the hands of Yarbrough. I mean, it's a circus play, but if it gets you a couple of positive yards, you'll take it.
That's one of those plays that could have gone either way. That easily could have landed in the hands of one of the Knight defenders, which would have had the ball head in the other direction.
Oh, yeah, could have easily turned the tide very quickly in the second quarter. Instead, it'll be a positive gain of 3 yards for the Bishops. 2 receivers on either side. Hirschman back to pass, looks to the right side again in the flat, complete to a tight end. He is loving his tight end stay. The ball was free, and it's going to go to Southern Virginia. Looks like another positive play for the Bishops to Alex Stack, but he lost the ball. And it'll be Knight football at the 22-yard line.
That's an example of playing until the whistle blows. I believe it was the tight end for the Bishops that made that catch. And they hit him immediately, and he was struggling for an extra yard there, but the Knights played to the whistle, knocked the ball out, and come away with the turnover.
And it's one of those things where you imagine that head coach for the Bishops will take number 80, Alex Stack, aside and say, look, you had a complete on the sideline, we had a 1st down. If you're not sure you can hold against 2 defenders, maybe just walk out of bounds a little bit.
Absolutely, he was right there. You never can fault a kid's effort for trying to make that second effort.
Exactly.
But sometimes in this game of football, you just got to be happy with what you were given.
Knights quick to the line of scrimmage to start this drive. Hand off to Jacob Wood, and it'll be, looks like it'll be a no gain there. So 2nd down and 10 for Southern Virginia. I kind of would like to see Southern Virginia kind of take a shot right there. Right after the turnover, you have a little bit of momentum. Try to see if you can get a wide receiver down behind one of the safeties. But again, you're relying on your consistent weapon, which is Jacob Wood.
Something to keep the momentum going and maybe adding a little bit of excitement. Just the simple play of throwing downfield gets everybody into the game, gets a little excitement on top.
Complete to the inside, a little behind him once again. Complete to number 88, Clinton Boxley. I like what they did there. They had the 3 receivers set on the right side, 2 receivers going over top, 1 receiver underneath. It's sort of a, not quote-unquote screenplay, but essentially that's what the effect is.
It's a good, safe play. You got 3 receivers in the area. 2 cleared out the defense, and you were left there with a simple throw for a reasonable gain.
Exactly, again, for a freshman quarterback, getting those simple throws, getting them comfortable and in rhythm. Got 3 receivers on the left side this time. Maxie in the gun, 3rd down and 7. Nice look down the left side. And that's complete to tight end number 87, Matthew Johansson. And that's going to be a 1st down out to the 36-yard line.
We got to give credit to that offensive line on that play.
They had to let that route develop, absolutely.
Gave Maxie the time that he needed to progress through his reads and find the open tight end downfield for the 1st down.
New set of chains for the Knights at their own 36-yard line. Their handoff to Langtree. He's got an opening. It's across midfield. And finally brought down by number 5, Corey Hunter.
That's great field vision there by Langtree. Did you see how he cut back? He saw he had a hole there between the 2 offensive linemen. They opened that up, and he made that cut back for that long run.
He's able to get through the initial gap created by the offensive line, but then he saw this other gap, which is as wide as the Grand Canyon, and decided, you know what, I'm going to make my way through this.
That's a good decision by the running back there. A good gain.
Now in the backfield for the Knights is Cade Nelson. Max is going to hand it off to Nelson, who's going to power his way forward for about a gain of 1.
Carried by number 36, Cade Nelson.
Cade Nelson's kind of become that power back that even if he falls forward a couple of yards, it's still a positive gain for you. He's very hard to stop when he gets his feet under him.
Yeah, he's a tough kid. It's good to see him out on the. He's had quite a few injuries in his career. He's a senior now, and really looked forward to this senior year. So it's good to see him out there in those types of down situations.
Absolutely. So 2nd down and 9 for Southern Virginia in Bishop territory now. They're going to hand off to Nelson once again. He's got a bit more of an opening this time, and he's going to plow forward all the way down to the 36-yard line of North Carolina Wesleyan.
That there's just the result of a good push by the offensive line, and then just the willpower of Cade Nelson wanting to get to that 1st down.
So a 3rd down and very manageable 2 yards to go for the Knights. Maxie so far in his first start really showing a lot of great composure. Able to execute the offense again, had a couple throws that were behind the receivers, but overall able to connect on them, run the offense. The running game has been effective. And just like that, a false start from number 63. That is Hugo Ortega Sanchez. They were trying to the hard count to get the offsides, get the easy 1st down.
Number 2 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 3rd down.
Now going back to Maxie, he's thrown the ball well. He's had a couple of those where it's been behind the receiver, but he's had good zip on the ball. He's made good reads. He hasn't put the ball across the middle or in any danger with any of his pass attempts so far.
And that's the most you can really ask for when it comes to a new quarterback in your system, a freshman quarterback starting in his 1st game. But now you have a 3rd down and 7 when you just had a 3rd down and 2. Puts a little bit more pressure on you. Washington in the gun, or in motion. Maxie back to pass, goes through his progressions, throws to the right side. Johansson up for grabs, and is able to bring it down off the tip. What a catch from Johansson.
We might have to send that game film to Sports Center for tonight, huh?
Dun-na-na, dun-na-na. My goodness, that was an incredible catch. He had 2 defenders over him. He had to reach up, tip it up in the air, fell backward, grabbed with one arm, brought it in. My goodness. Like you said, Colby, that's got to be on Sports Center.
Again, really a good throw by Maxie on that one where there was some defense down there, but he threw it to the high point where only his receiver could get it. You know, he got a hand on it, and as luck would have it, he fell right into it, was able to maintain his feet and get to that ball after he tipped it.
And not only did the Knights get a great gain on that one, there was unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer on North Carolina Wesleyan. So now it puts Southern Virginia on the 8-yard line of the Bishops and in perfect striking distance. Hand off to Jacob Wood. He's got a bit of a lane. He's going to get all the way down to the 2-yard line of the Bishops.
Number 23, Jacob Wood on the carry for the Knights. Gain of 6 on the play.
Aside from that false start penalty earlier on, just a couple plays ago, this has been one of the most fundamental and fluid drives we've seen from Southern Virginia so far this season. It's been very beautiful to see again. Just small plays here and there. The one big play to Johansson, the one-handed grab. The offense is just very much clicking right now.
Very fundamentally sound, taking care of business, just plodding their way down the field.
Hands on Jacob Wood. He's got a defender on the outside. He's going to lose a couple of yards, make it 3rd down and goal. Try to kick it to the outside because the Bishops had a ton of bodies on the interior. They weren't going to open up any lanes.
Brings up 3rd down and 5.
And now here we have a big 3rd down. See if we can pay off this good drive with a touchdown.
At the Bishops' 5-yard line now. Mack's going to look to Johansson on the right side. He's going to throw it up for him. And it's caught in the back corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Knights. That is how you throw a fade right. You throw it to the outside, like you said in the other play. Threw it to where only his receiver could get to it. He had the height advantage, able to reach up and bring it in with both hands.
I think we'd have to give player of the drive to Johansson on that drive. What do you think, Dawson?
You absolutely have to. I mean, with the touchdown grab and the one-handed grab, you just absolutely have to. And so, point after attempt for Southern Virginia. The PAT is up. And it's wide right. Kicking not working so well for either team so far today. So the Knights will take a 6-0 lead midway through the second quarter. Maxey so far in today's game is 6 of 9, 65 yards, the long of 25, and 1 touchdown. That's not too shabby for starting your first game at home.
Not bad at all. You know, I gave player of the drive to Johansson on that last drive, but then you think about it, and Maxey was very good, very solid throughout that drive. Made good reads. You know, you could say that he kind of threw that ball up on that first great catch that Johansson had, but at the end of the day, he still put it where it wasn't going to hurt him.
Exactly, and that's what you have to do as a quarterback, get to put it where only your receiver can get to it. Even if it's like super far to the outside or totally off the mark, the only person close enough to get it is your receiver. That's exactly what you want. And Max has been giving this to Southern Virginia so far early on in today's game. Again, one of the more complete drives I've seen from Southern Virginia in quite some time.
Oh, definitely. We started, what, back at the...
Around the 23-yard line, I believe.
23-yard line. So a good 75, 80-yard drive.
I think any coach would take that any day of the week.
Absolutely. Took some time off the clock as well. And let's not forget that pays off the turnover.
Exactly. Able to capitalize off that momentum. Able to have the big plays like we mentioned we wanted to see right off the bat. Kicking off for Southern Virginia is number 35, Mike Brown, the sophomore from Leesburg, Virginia. And returning for the Bishops, you have number 9, Taheem Kimball, and number 4, Jason Woodard. Kick is up. It'll be Woodard with the return on this one. It was a high grab. And it's going to get brought down right on the 23-yard line. There's a flag on the field. Looks like a possible holding penalty. Indeed, it will be 11. That is Elijah Love Jr., wide receiver from Gastonia, North Carolina. And in fact, that reminds me, I was watching some footage of different types of coaches in college football, and one of them was a special teams coach. And one thing they mentioned is that it feels like almost all the holding and block in the back calls are called on returns. And that is the one thing that will tear out any hair of any coach anywhere is penalties like that on kick returns.
And not only do they happen on the returns, but so many times they happen behind the runner.
Exactly.
Where there just really is no reason to keep your hands on the fielder, on the defender.
Crank is going to fall forward for about 2 yards on that carry.
Carry by the Bishops, number 9, Taheem Kimball.
Actually looks like it was Kimball on that carry. Falls forward for a couple. And because that holding penalty, the Bishops will start off very deep in their own territory. Not quite as deep as they were the previous possession, but still not necessarily where you like to start your drives.
No, it's kind of becoming a pattern here the last few series for the Bishops. They'll have their work cut out for them to try and flip this field at the very least on this possession.
Hirschman's going to hand it off to Kimball once again. He's going to go forward for a couple more yards. And that is one thing that not a lot of people, when they talk about football, mention is the field position game, especially when you have a game like this where you have two very evenly matched teams, both on a very similar season trajectory. That's one place that you can tell who has the momentum is who is winning the field position battle. Are you starting possessions on your own 30, 35, or are you starting inside your own 10? And oftentimes it tells a story the entire game.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, both teams 0-3 to start.
Got pressure on Hirschman, but it was caught. Make it a 4th down and short. Hirschman was absolutely leveled by Kemani Vaivai, who came in there completely unblocked.
And the Knight defense holds here.
So
3 and out. We haven't had many 3 and outs so far.
Aside from the first one that Southern Virginia had very early in the first quarter, you're absolutely right. Southern Virginia able to get a stop right after they had scored the touchdown to take the lead. I would watch for a fake, though, here. They are deep in their own territory, but it's only 4th and 1. And I believe Southern Virginia might have suspected the same thing, and will call a timeout here with just 6 minutes left to go in this first half. Again, the score stands 6-0 in favor of Southern Virginia University.
You know, going back to the field position conversation we were having, I think, you know, both teams were 0-3 coming into this game. I think both coaches wanted to fill each other out. First conference game, you want to come away with a win in your first conference game. No matter what the first 3 games of the season were like, you want to come out with that game. So I think, you know, the first quarter kind of shows that both teams were trying to fill each other out, conservative play calling, and play that field position game.
And now as the game goes on, you can expect to see a little bit more aggressive play calling, trying to take any opportunity to take that momentum back, which is why I feel like if I were a coach of North Carolina Wesleyan, but there's a reason I'm not a coach, right? But if I were the coach, I would at least consider a fake punt here, maybe a snap to one of the backfielders in front of the punter. But indeed, they will punt it away here. Again, there's a reason I'm not a coach, Colby, and I'm up here in the stands. But that is a fair catch at Southern Virginia's own 39-yard line by Washington. Again, field position. Southern Virginia starting basically at their own 40-yard line, whereas North Carolina Wesleyan was starting around their own 10.
And that was great for the Knights because they've maintained the field position. You know, you say you may not be cut out to be a head coach, but I'm pretty sure there was a coach in the NFL last week that went for it on 4th down 2 times in his own inside his own 35-yard line.
So it's not uncommon, is what you're saying.
It's not uncommon. I wasn't watching the game,
chance.
but I think I was watching a game later on in the day. So I can't remember which coach it was, but somebody did.
Max is going to hand it off to Jacob Wood. He's got an opening on the outside. And he's going to gain about 7 yards on that carry.
Jacob Wood with the carry for the Knights, gain of 6 on the play.
So just under 6 minutes left to go. Southern Virginia in very good shape. Solid first down play. Now 2nd down and a long 4. And again, now that you know that your quarterback, Maxey, is throwing accurately today, able to give your wide receivers a chance to make some plays, you feel more comfortable. You feel more relaxed. You as an offensive coordinator thinking, okay, let's open this up a little bit more. Get a little more experimental with what we can do with Maxey. He's going to hand off to Jacob Wood once again. And he's going to fall forward to a route midfield close to the first down marker. I think he may just have it.
And let's not forget about the confidence that now is the offensive line has. Opening some holes here for the running game, also providing Maxey with the time that he does need to make those throws that he's made so far.
Again, that's been a big focus for Southern Virginia all week long. Now it was in the preview of the game. One thing they're really going to focus on is protecting the quarterback and opening up those running lanes. And like you just said, they have done just that so far.
Now, there's a reason why I'm not a football coach, but I would guess that Coach Mulatalo's happy with the play of his offensive line here early in this game.
Absolutely can agree with that one as Maxi's in the gun. Nelson in the back. Maxi's going to roll to his right. He's got a receiver open. 2 receivers open. And that one is caught by number 14, Woodson Francois. And that'll be for a first down in Bishop territory. He really had easy pickings right there. He had 2 receivers open down the field. He had Francois, and I believe he also had Drake Washington wide open a little further down the field as well.
I don't want to speculate too much, but I think he was making the decision as to whether or not he had the confidence to go further downfield to Washington or not. Because, like you say, they were both open, and he couldn't really go wrong.
I mean, pick your poison in that situation. Yep. Got a trips left. Hand it off to Nelson. He's going to try to get to the outside. He's got some space. Jukes back to the inside, gets to the 25-yard line. Very close to the first down marker. I think he does have another first down. Again, just a great surge on the offensive line. Also great vision from the running backs for Southern Virginia today.
They've really taken advantage of the holes that line has opened up for them.
Nelson's going to fall forward for a gain of about 7 before he's finally brought down by number 51, Gio Mins Jr. from Angier, North Carolina. Second down and 4. They're going to hand out to Nelson once again. They're going to feed him as long as he's willing. And he's going to fall forward for another first down.
I guarantee you Nelson's not telling Coach to stop feeding him that ball, too.
In fact, he probably protested when he was asked to come off the field. But, again, they're getting that surge. They're feeling very confident right now offensively. So first down at North Carolina Wesleyan's 15-yard line. Washington in motion to the left. They're going to hand off to Jacob Wood once again. He's got an opening to the 5. I think he may have gotten to the end zone.
Still waiting on the call from the official.
I believe they're going to call him just short, although we did see a defender for North Carolina Wesleyan leave the pile with the ball, Benyon Williams. I think the rest are trying to decide on if he had possession before crossing the line.
The Bishops think they have it.
Indeed, it will go back to North Carolina Wesleyan at the 1-yard line. The Knights putting together a very strong drive there, only to fumble literally at the doorstep of the end zone.
Yeah, from our vantage point, it looked like he had gotten into the end zone, but there was the delay on the call, and apparently it was that ball had come out.
An unfortunate end to that very impressive drive for Southern Virginia where they were just running the ball just effectively as anyone could, getting about 5 or 6 yards a pop. But now defensively, if you're Southern Virginia, there's blood in the water. They're back to their own end zone. You got to apply pressure, and you just know North Carolina Wesleyan's going to try to get a surge in the offensive line and run it out of there. And as soon as I speak, he throws a very gutsy throw across the middle all the way out to the 20-yard line.
And there you go, Dawson. There's that aggressive play call right after a turnover. Sure, your backs may be against the wall, but why not throw one out there, see if we can gain 20 yards in one chunk.
That shows trust in your quarterback and Hirschman. I mean, fantastic throw. Again, you're backed up in your own end zone. And you know Southern Virginia's been able to get some pressure in this game. And you have the confidence to call that and execute it. Very well done. Hirschman rolls out to his left. There's a penalty flag. It'll be incomplete, but I believe they might be calling defensive holding on Southern Virginia.
We got sides of the field there. The one on the far side came out, it seemed a little after the play.
May we see 2 penalties in Southern Virginia, or will they offset? Refs discussing it now. Refs today led by Jeff Davis. Aside from a couple of false starts early in this game, it's been a pretty clean game on both sides. Very limited in penalties.
I have 2 penalties for both teams.
So we'll be offsetting penalties.
Number 1, ineligible.
Jameer Robinson was guilty of holding.
Will offset. Replay fail.
So it was an incomplete pass, replay the 1st and 10. So legal man or ineligible man downfield and holding on the defense. I mean, you're Southern Virginia, you're breathing a sigh of relief. Like, thank goodness somebody else is doing something wrong.
You definitely got away with one there. Otherwise, that would have cut, put them in a 1st and 5 again.
So now 1st down and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Just over 2 minutes left to play in this first half. Now remember, North Carolina Wesleyan deferred to the second half, so they have a chance to drive down the field, put some points on the board, and then get the ball back to start the second half. Kimball fell forward for about a gain of 6 yards.
And this becomes an important test for this Knight defense to see if they can hold here at the end of the half, knowing that the Bishops will get the ball back to begin the second half.
And North Carolina Wesleyan's going to speed up their offense here with just under 2 minutes left to go. We got 2-minute drill going on. Hirschman back to pass. He's going to look towards the sideline. He's got a deep man. And it's complete all the way into Knight territory. Again, that sweet spot between the free safety and the cornerback. That was number 18, Quentin Wright.
Yeah, he was able to get behind the defense on that far sideline, and Hirschman found him for the long gain here.
Hirschman so far.
Oh, they're calling it incomplete.
I believe you are right. From our angle, it looked like he held on to it throughout the entire play, but looks last second. That is only Hirschman's 3rd incompletion of the day. He has a total of 15 for 121 yards. They're going to hand off to Kimball up the middle. He's going to be close to a 1st down. So a timeout called.
Timeout. Ryan Wesleyan. The first charge timeout of the half.
The Bishops will call the first timeout of this half with just a minute and a half left to go. Again, you're now in a 1st and 10 situation. You're open to the playbook. You're going to attack the sideline so you can get out of bounds really quickly, stop the clock. But again, if you're Southern Virginia, you got to figure out how to stop the exploitation these receivers are having on them, getting those sweet spots between the safety or the free safety and the cornerback. They're exploiting that all day long.
Yeah, they've had a lot of receivers being able to get behind in that sweet spot, like you say, get just past the cornerback and in between the free safety. You're right now with a minute 25. I think you're still probably playing with the entire field. It may not be right at the sidelines just yet because they do have their 2 timeouts still remaining for the half.
That's a very good point. So Southern Virginia holding on to a 6-0 lead. Ideal situation for Southern Virginia. You get the stop, go into half with momentum, knowing you got to stop defensively. But, of course, for North Carolina Wesleyan, you're thinking, okay, if we get a field goal here, or even better yet, a touchdown, and we make our extra point, we can be up at half, 7-6, start with the ball in the second half with that momentum, and add on to that lead.
And you know the coaches are expecting a touchdown in that opening drive next half.
Pass across the middle is complete for about a gain of 7. That was Quentin Wright on the reception. Now approaching 1 minute in the half. Two receivers on either side. Knights bringing 4. Quick out to the right side. And it's complete for another 5 yards and a 1st down. Sean Washington once again showing up, not showing up as often as I expected him to, being the leader in all-purpose yards. The Knights have really keyed on him and making sure his touches have been limited.
You're right, they've done a good job. As we spoke in the pregame, we expected to hear a lot more of his name.
Around 40 seconds left to go. Hirschman looking down the middle of the field. And that's going to be intercepted by Southern Virginia. He's got to return. Cutting back across the middle of the field. He's got some blockers all the way back to midfield. That is number 7, Jacob Taloa. And the Knights able to stop North Carolina Wesleyan. They were trying to respond after they forced the fumble at the 1-yard line, and they forced a turnover of their own.
Yeah, I think you and I both saw that was an ill-fated pass right from the start as Hirschman was looking downfield. From the time he released it, that ball just didn't have enough air under it.
It absolutely did not, and that's one of the situations where you're trying to force a big play down the field. And again, the Knights closed that gap that we talked about before, that the Bishop has been able to exploit all game long.
Yeah, it became a question of which Knight was going to get his hands on the ball first. Fortunately, Talo was able to secure it and bring the ball back to midfield.
Maxey back to pass. Not a whole lot of time. He's rolling out to his right side. Throw it to the sideline to Johansson. It's complete. Gain of about 4. Still 22 seconds left on the clock. We have a whistle blowing on the field. Looks like we may have had to stop for an injury as Malik Anderson, the sophomore defensive lineman from Tampa, Florida, was slow to get up. He was the one in pursuit of Maxey as he was rolling to the right side. And a face mask penalty added on to that play. See, when you're around midfield, you're thinking, okay, maybe a couple of short passes to the middle, pass to the outside, but now you're closer at the 31-yard line. You have a chance to strike at the end zone here.
And let's not forget the point that the offensive line created some time. They did break down after a minute, but Maxey was able to gain some ground for himself, find some time, and make that throw downfield.
And that is intercepted by North Carolina Wesleyan. Trying to get it to number 88, Clinton Boxley, but intercepted by number 7, Benyon Williams. So basically back-to-back interceptions for both teams. Ill-advised throws on both occasions. I think a lot of that was a hurried mindset for Maxey as he had pressure coming from the right side.
Maybe wanting to do a little too much with not enough to have.
That's a very good point. Now 15 seconds left on the clock. This last 20 seconds have been pretty eventful, I'd say.
And maybe the least well-played 20 seconds of the half.
Ursum's going to hand it off to Kimball up the middle. Gain of about 7.
I say that, but overall, it's been a very well-played half, with the exception of those 2 late turnovers, one by each team.
And the Bishop's just going to run out the clock in this first half as the Knights go into halftime with the lead at 6-0. The lone touchdown belonging to Maxey and Johansson in the back corner of the end zone. Again, like you mentioned, Colby, it's been back and forth. Defenses are playing well, forcing turnovers. Offenses have gotten a little bit of a rhythm, but have rarely been able to punctuate on their drives that they have had so far.
Yeah, that last interception, it would have been interesting to see how the Knights would have closed out that half if it weren't for that last-minute interception. Could we have gained, another 10, 15 yards, gone for a field goal, or whatever it might have been, just to close out that half on a positive after getting that turnover of our own back in Bishop territory.
And so with that, again, the score stands 6-0 in favor of the Knights of Southern Virginia. We will duck out for the halftime activities here at the fields. We will see you when the second half action starts.
Southern Virginia University dance team. The dance team is coached by Mikel Beck and Lily Moore. Tonight, they will be performing a hip-hop routine called The Sing, choreographed by Lindsay Wood.
All right, Misa!
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause and welcome back to the field our very own Southern Virginia University Marching Knights. And we'll be performing the classic Latin number, El Cubanchero.
Jacob!
Coach Randy Pendleton and assistant coach Barry Barney. Please help us welcome back to the field our Southern Virginia University cheer team. This from the attention to the north end zone for the Grace Automotive pass and kick contest. Our shoot contestants tonight are Mr. Johnson, a senior from Salt Lake City, Utah. They will attempt to cut a pass and kick their way downfield. If the field goal is made, they will win a free throw from Grace Automotive. Good luck to Alyssa and Jessica. Cheer them on. We have a winner. Congratulations, Justice. Grace Automotive is a one-stop shop for all your automotive needs. Night banks receive a 10% discount for any service performed by Grace Automotive. Located at 1930 Magnolia Avenue, here in Buena Vista.
And we welcome you back for the second half of this exciting USA South matchup between the Battling Bishops of North Carolina Wesleyan and your Southern Virginia University Knights. Right now, the Knights have the lead 6-0. They had a passing touchdown from Maxey to Johansson in the first half. And we're about to score a second time, but fumbled at the 1 yard line. But other than that, it's been a very back and forth matchup so far, Colby.
Yeah, it's been pretty evenly matched so far. We've seen both offenses move the ball fairly consistently, but at the same time, the defense has been pretty sturdy as well. Just a couple big plays have been the change in the game.
Absolutely, and it's been a very clean game aside from the 2 turnovers within the last 30 seconds of the first half. Neither team was really doing a bad job of maintaining possession of the ball, but two of the big things for either team, for Southern Virginia, their run game has been very surprisingly good today. It's been very consistent. They've been able to really get a surge in the offensive line, and they've been able to get about 3 or 4 yards per carry. And then for North Carolina Wesleyan, the passing game. They have 133 yards through the air so far and able to really capitalize on those open gaps in the defensive backfield.
And when you look at that passing game, the difference really has been that the Knights have come up big when the ball's been down in their red zone.
Absolutely. You are absolutely 100% correct. The Bishops deferred to start the game. They will get the kickoff of the second half.
And you know they're going to come out looking to move the ball. They're probably going to be aggressive and look to move the ball down the field and score a touchdown. No coach is going to be happy with being shut out in any half of football.
Oh, absolutely. They want to come out there. They're trying to make a statement, showing that they can move the ball and they can put the ball in the end zone. It has been a struggle for them so far in the season. Only 2 total touchdowns on the year, again, against very good programs. But they will want to change that here today. Here is the return. Stopped at about the 23-yard line on the return. That was number 18, that being Quentin Wright. Actually, excuse me, it might have been DeQuavis Madison, freshman from Anderson, South Carolina. So 1st and 10 for the Bishops on their own 32-yard line. Not bad field position to start the second half.
Not too bad. I think an interesting thing will be to see how the Knight defense makes the adjustment on those short pass plays.
Like you mentioned, they really targeted the tight ends early and often in the first half. They're going to hand it off up the middle, but a whistle blown before it was handed off to Crank. I believe a false start on the Bishops. And again, if you're a coach, you see the first play of the game, you have a false start, you're not sitting too happy.
No, that is not the way Coach wanted to start off this second half. Definitely not with starting field possession on the 32-yard line of the Knights.
Definitely not, for sure.
Their own 32.
And so now 1st down and 15 for the Bishops. Hirschman in the gun. He's going to drop back to pass. Looks to his left. He's going to dump it off to Crank. And he's stopped before he can get back to the original line of scrimmage. Again, that's just smart play calling there. You know that in a 1st down and 15 situation, Southern Virginia's not going to want anything to get behind them. They don't want to give up a big play. They will take advantage of that penalty. And so they leak out Crank out of the backfield, dump it right off to him.
And that was disciplined play by the Knights defense. You had the line and the offense moving to the right. The defenders stayed in the flat on the left and were ready for that dump pass out on the left flat.
So now 2nd down and 12 for the Bishops. Hirschman back to pass, looks to his left, goes through his progressions. Got some pressure. And that is going to be incomplete, intended to number 3, Storm Yarbrough. Yarbrough had the deflected catch early in the first half. And that one will be incomplete, make it 3rd down and 12.
So here we have our first big 3rd down of the second half. See if the Knights can come up with a stop here and get the ball back here early in this second half.
Much like in the first half, I expect them to leak out a tight end or running back to be open around the 35-yard line and try to get some yards after the catch. He got some pressure at the middle and thrown away as pressure came from number 44, Maekele Tuanakavadra. Try to say that name 2 times fast.
Well done. That was a name I did point out to you early to see how many times you would say that today. And that was very well done, Dawson. Got to hand it to you on that one.
Well, when you practice it a couple dozen times in the mirror, you kind of have to get it right at some point. So 4th down and 12 for the Bishops.
I got to give a shout out too to Cole Oldham on that one to get there late to help finish that play off there. Force the quarterback to throw that incomplete.
Had nowhere to go with that one, so the Knights force a quick 3 and out. It's a slow snap. And the penalty flag is going to come out for running to the kicker on number 4, Seth Massey. And he tried to stop himself too, tried to stop his momentum and try to make sure the punter didn't fall. Now the key is they might call running into the punter, which is different from roughing the punter.
I believe if it's just running into the kicker, that's a 5-yard penalty.
So the Bishops will still punt it away, and I think the Bishops are okay with that because the punt they had was not one you'd like to have.
I think they're happy to do a redo on that. Of course, they would have liked to see a personal foul on that and retain the ball. But with where that ball ended up, I think they'll gladly take the second chance to punt this further down the field.
Back to return for the Knights is number 9, Jarique Washington. He's getting the punt off. Solid punt now. Washington muffs it and jumps onto it. You got the sun on the left side of your screen here, so I think the sun got into his eyes, made it really hard for him to catch that one.
No return on play. First and 10 Knights on the 21-yard line.
So now 1st down and 10 at their own 21-yard line for Southern Virginia, starting off in this half with just 13 minutes and 49 seconds left in the half. Maxey back out for the Knights. In the first half, he had 84 yards, 1 touchdown, was 8 for 12 with 1 interception. Solid first half for the freshman. Hand off to Jacob Wood. He's going to fall forward for maybe a yard gain on that one. Now, one thing we saw in the first half is that the Knights started off with very short runs. They were able to push forward just to get a couple, but as the half went on, the defense for North Carolina Wesleyan got tired, and the Knights were able to get more of a surge at the line of scrimmage. I'd imagine the Knights are going to try for a similar pattern here.
I'd imagine, especially a little deep in their own territory right here to begin the third quarter. They're going to want to try and get a sustained drive here, flip the field like we were talking about early in the first half.
So 2nd down and 8 for the Knights. Got Johansson on the near side of the field. Washington in motion. Maxey back to pass. Tries to throw it to the inside of Washington. A little teammate-on-teammate collision. Falling to the turf is number 3, Brandon Arnold. And he was hit by his teammate, number 46, Luke Moorhead. That was a very tight window that Maxey tried to fit that ball into. And usually when we see a play like that, it's linebacker on receiver. And it usually ends up being a blindside hit penalty. This is teammate on teammate.
Yeah, it was definitely teammate on teammate. A little surprised that nobody got their hand on that ball because, like you said, it was definitely fit into a tight window.
So that'll make it 3rd down and 8 as we await to see number Brandon Arnold. He's indeed sitting up now, which is good to see. But, of course, him being one of the seniors on this defense, if you were to lose him for a couple of plays, that's a big blow to your defense.
It's always difficult to lose one of your senior leaders.
Trots off the field under his own power, so good to see there. Maybe just a little shaken up from that hit, which, understandably, I know I would be.
Oh, obviously, it was a hard hit. He took a pretty good shot there from his fellow teammate. See if the Knights now look to take advantage of whoever came in to replace him.
So 3rd down and 8 for the Knights. Got Johansson and Washington on the near side. Bring over Chase Pope. Maxi's going to drop back to pass. He's going to run it up the middle. He's got some space. Another sort of teammate on teammate hit for the Bishops. That'll make it 4th down and 2. I'll tell you one thing. This Bishops defense came out of the half ready to hit. Just got to make sure you hit the other team.
Yeah, they're definitely running around the field and trying to make some contact, trying to gain some momentum for their own team.
And so that'll be 4th down and a long or a short 2. And the Knights will decide to punt it away.
All right, if you're the head coach here, you're going to fake punt this, Dawson?
I probably would not. At this point, you'd probably just go ahead and do a safe punt, try to flip the field. This punt's a little shorter than they would like it to be, as it's fielded around midfield by number 81, that being Mikhail Atterbury. So, again, we talked about it in the first half ad nauseum, but it's a factor here right now. Field position battle. Right now, the Bishops are winning it.
Yep, they take the ball over here with a short field. They'll be looking to gain some momentum here, see if the Knights defense can continue to hold. I think on that first defensive series of the second half, they showed some good adjustments had been made at the half.
And Hirschman has been very effective through the air, as that one is caught on the far side by Sean Washington. Hirschman is now 16 of 22 on the day, passing around 72% completion percentage. He has yet to throw a touchdown, but again, he's been the facilitator of this offense. He's made some pretty big throws down the field, and he's looked very comfortable in this offense so far today.
He certainly has. He stepped up and put that. The receiver was well defended.
Slammed down to the turf as number 7, Trevin Crank, slammed down by number 44, Makale Tuanakavadra. Loss of about 4 on that one. Make it 2nd down and 14. And I mentioned Hirschman, quarterback for the Bishops. He is 16 of 22, 153 yards, 72.7 completion percentage, and the 1 interception late in the first half. Hirschman back to pass. He's got pressure on the right side. It's going to be a batted down screen play. Tuanakavadra involved once again.
And again, that was Cole Oldham making chase, forcing him to throw that ball sooner than he wanted to.
We got another Bishop down on the field. I believe it's one of their offensive linemen. And that incompletion will make it 3rd down and 14. And again, we saw it a lot in the first half, a lot of the quick outs, the sneaking out tight ends and running backs into the flats, trying to set up the screens. That time the Knights were wiser to that and batted it down at the line of scrimmage.
Looks like we have another injured Bishop on the field.
I believe that is number 70. That being Desmond Barnes, the sophomore from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. You know, with how physical the line of scrimmage can be, it's a miracle that you don't see, a good miracle that you don't see a lot more of these offensive linemen hurt on the field. Because again, they're in the trenches all day long. You know, they're trying to basically establish the tone of the game, right? And he's able to get off the field under his own power.
And they're big, strong guys.
Oh, yeah.
So you get two big, strong guys pushing against each other. It doesn't take much. You know, that's where you see the knees buckle and unfortunate knee injuries happen. But it looks like he's walking pretty well off the field under his own power.
Hopefully for his sake he can get back to the field soon, or at least be good enough to come back quickly. And so 3rd down and 14 for North Carolina Wesleyan. Just over 11 minutes left to play in this 3rd quarter. Hirschman back to pass. He's got some pressure on the left side. Pass across the middle is off the mark. It was intended for number 82, Caleb Logan Jr., who was limping a little bit after that play. So it is a 4th down stop, but you stop them on 4th down in your own territory. And so unless the punt goes out of bounds, you're in a bit of danger of being backed up at your own goal line.
It's always good to get off the field, though, and let the offense take over. But, you know, who knows? Maybe we can get a good return here and flip the field just a little bit anyway.
That's definitely what the Knights are hoping for with Tariq Washington back to return for Southern Virginia, one of the more dynamic athletes on this roster. Snaps a little off. And this is a high punt. And it's going to take a Bishop bounce inside the 10 all the way down to the 5-yard line. And there was a lot of bodies there. I do not blame Washington at all for letting it fall to the turf, because last time he tried to fill a punt, the sun was right there, and he muffed it.
And right there, they're punting on a short field. There's just a lot of bodies, like you say,
Right.
a lot of traffic. If there's a mistake made, it's just not the right time to try and risk that.
So Southern Virginia starting off at their own 5-yard line.
And it wasn't a good punt, but they did get a good little bounce here, even on the Knights' home field.
That's happened once for both teams so far, where the punt didn't look pretty, but it sure did the job. Jacob Wood looks like he may fall down for a gain of 1 if the refs are being generous. Not a lot of surge in that play.
This becomes an opportunity here for this young offensive line now to take over and show that they have made some progress and want to open a couple holes here for these running backs deep in their own territory.
So 2nd down and 9 for the Knights. And coming in for running back is Cade Nelson, which I like that idea. Again, Cade Nelson's one of the bigger backs in the backfield. He's able to get a lot of push and momentum himself. And indeed, they're going to hand it off to him up the middle. He's got some space, and he's going to break forward for a 1st down out close to the 20-yard line.
No, you called that right, Dawson. That's what Cade Nelson does. He comes in, he runs north and south. He looks to punish the defense.
That's something you love to see from a running back. Just a running back that makes defenders wake up the next day with a couple of extra bruises on their arms than they're more than used to having.
And he found a hole, and he busted through that. The offensive line did a really good job there. Just
Absolutely.
a simple hole right up the middle. Cade hit it hard and gained, pushed the ball out to the 18-yard line.
So now you have some breathing room if you're the Knights offense. Fakes the handoff. Max rolls out to his right side. He's got the fullback for a completion and brought down. And that'll be a penalty. Easy call. The ref was standing right there. There's no way you can miss that penalty.
No, when you see the head come backwards and the feet keep moving forward, you know there's been a face mask, and that's exactly what happened there.
And that was
The
complete.
Bishop coach doesn't. Sorry, Dawson, go ahead.
You're absolutely fine. That was complete to number 46, Malik Jones, freshman running back from Moline, Illinois.
Yeah, the Bishop coach doesn't seem to think that there was a face mask there, but from our vantage point across the field, it looked pretty obvious.
I mean, one thing's for certain. They grabbed something in the upper area.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, number 2 on the defense.
And it'll be called on number 2, Charles Cias Sr., outside linebacker from Orange, Texas. And that is a huge penalty because, again, when you're in your own side of the field, every little bit counts. And when you give up free yards, when you don't tackle properly, that's a big play. So 1st down and 10 at their own 37-yard line. Max fakes the handoff, throws across the middle, complete to Jacob Wood. Again, he's been trying to throw in those tight windows all day long, and he was able to complete that one.
Yeah, you really got to hand it to Maxey. He's come out here with confidence. He's not afraid to throw the ball. He's obviously confident in his own ability, which the coaches love to see.
Absolutely, and if he's confident, the coaches are confident in him to make that throw as well. And so 1st down and 10 near midfield. The Knights are rolling now. They're going to hand off up the middle to Langtree, and he's going to gain maybe 1. The Bishops stand their ground on the defensive line.
Carried by the Knights, number 30, Alex Langtree. Stopped by the Bishops.
So 2nd down and 9 at their own 49-yard line.
We've got Nelson coming back onto the field for the 2nd and 9. I'd look for a handoff to him, see if he can get pick up a few yards here.
The backfield of Nelson and Wood so far today has been a really good dynamic duo, being able to get a little bit of both in there, some speed on the outside, some power up the middle. Maxey rolls out to his left. Complete to Francois, and that'll be for a first down.
That was a good play call there. The Bishops saw the same thing we did. They saw Nelson come onto the field. They thought he was going to get the ball up the middle. They bid on the pass fake, or the ball fake, and we had an open receiver here in the flat for a first down.
And it kind of shows that in the game of football, you don't necessarily have to have a trick-filled play itself. The trick is to just be who you have on the field.
Absolutely. That was a basic football play, but just with the personnel, it made it work.
And hand off to Nelson. Having a hard time finding a hole, but he's going to fall forward for about a gain of 2.
Number 36, Cade Nelson on the carry. Gain of 2 on the play.
Again, it's one of those situations where there wasn't really a hole to run through, but either way, you find a way to get positive yardage.
Number 2, Charles Sias.
Coming onto the field is tight end number 8, Jalen Troy. Jalen Troy is a player that this Knights coaching staff is very excited about. We haven't seen a whole lot of him today. He's caught 1 touchdown on the season, but he really creates an opportunity for this Knights to open up offensively. Three receivers to the right side. Max going to toss it left to Troy. Batted away at the last second by number 5, Corey Hunter.
It was a very good defensive play there by the defender.
And it's thrown a little too short and to the inside. If you're going to try to get a Troy, try to throw it to the left side a little bit further down the field.
One factor to this here is they are moving into the wind now. I wonder if Maxey didn't quite take that into account. Like you say, if he'd thrown that toward the goalpost, giving Troy an opportunity to use his athleticism.
Very good point. There has been a slight breeze here all day long, and that'll definitely affect the passing game, at least to a small degree. So 3rd down and 8 for the Knights. Got pressure. Caught, and it'll be close to a first down. Bulldozing his way forward is number 45, Trinity Stores, freshman from Glasgow, Virginia, to make the catch with the outstretched arms and then to plow his way for the first down. Great catch and run there.
How about the composure of play? Staring a defender right in the eye. He ended up getting hit, put on his back, but he delivered the pass where it needed to be.
Not only did he have that defender right in front of him, there was a defender right behind that defender as well, bringing pressure on him. So like you said, standing his ground, stepping into the throw, and delivering. Play action here. Max is going to throw to the sideline and is caught by number 2, Chase Wester.
And just going back to that last play one more time, that's the type of play where you really gain the respect of your teammates.
Absolutely.
They see you stand in, make a simple pass like that, and take the hit. They're going to go to battle for you from here on out.
And so with that pass, Maxey is now 13 of 19 for 124 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Again, for being a freshman, coming to this game, starting in place for your starting quarterback, Colton Shumway, who's been the starter all season long, you're doing a really great job. Reverse to Washington, almost stopped in the backfield. And it's going to maybe get back to the line of scrimmage.
Rushed by the Knights, number 9, Jairique Washington. Penalty on the play.
And there will be a flag on the field on the far side. Defensively, number 4, Jaden Denmark was there as Washington just got the ball, almost made the stop in the backfield as soon as he got the pitch.
Yeah, the Knights looking to mix it up a little bit with the trick play. Not a bad time to call it. 2nd and 1.
Right.
Not a bad time to try that.
And you've kind of established a pattern of your offense. You've got a good running game going.
Number 7 on the defense and number 2 on the offense. Both pillars will offset. This is each player's first unsportsmanlike of the game.
So it looks like Chase Wester and Benyon Williams are both called for unsportsmanlike conduct, maybe jawing at each other. But what you love to see is right afterwards, they both looked at the ref and were like, really, we were just talking. They shook hands with each other, saying it's all good. It's just simple things like that I love to see on the football field.
And every now and then, the refs, they get a little bit ahead of themselves. They're obviously trying to manage the situation and the emotion on there. And, but these guys are all competitors.
So 3rd down and 1. They're going to hand off to Nelson. Who's got some space? He could go to the end zone. Touchdown, Knights! Nelson. And you can just see how excited he is after that touchdown run. As soon as he made the first defender miss, it was open season. No one in front of him.
Yeah, you know, that was another play where it was Nelson up the middle, but there was nothing going up the middle. Just a huge traffic jam, and he bounced that to the outside and had nothing but grass.
So the point after try. The Knights faking the 2-point attempt, but instead will kick the PAT. They missed the first one early in the first half. Hold and kick are up. And the kick is good. Make it 13-0 in favor of the Knights. Another solid and fundamental drive for Southern Virginia. You got to give so much credit to this entire offensive unit. They are clicking right now.
They're playing very consistently, and I think if you ask any coach, that's what they ask of their team. Play consistent. You know, if we make a call, you know, do your job. You know, so we know that it's happening, and let everybody around you do their job. And that's what we're seeing right now, really on both sides of the football.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I want to point out, Southern Virginia, I mentioned a couple times in this broadcast, has struggled early on this season running the ball effectively. The only rushing touchdown coming into this game was from quarterback Colton Shumway. So Caden Nelson, the first running back for Southern Virginia's roster this season to score a touchdown, that's got to be a good feeling.
Oh, definitely. The senior, like we talked about earlier, he's had some injuries, and to come out here, he has had a really good game. It's fun to watch.
And right now the running backs for Southern Virginia have gained as follows: Wood with 50 yards, Nelson with 41 yards, and Langtree with 21 yards. And I believe the stats are a little behind, and Nelson indeed now is the leader in rushing yards, up with 56 and that touchdown on the day. So a total of about 115 yards rushing overall for Southern Virginia.
From 3 different running backs, so you got to like that.
Exactly. Got a little thunder and lightning action going on here for Southern Virginia.
It also speaks to the consistency of the line.
Exactly.
You know, regardless of the type of running back that gets the ball on any given play, they're doing their job. The line's doing their job, opening the holes and letting the running back do what they do.
You're absolutely right on that one. So just over 5 minutes left to play in this third quarter, and the Knights to kick off once again. This is a shorter kick. Breaking tackles, he's got a lane. And finally brought down up 40-yard line. That is number 37, Demarius Robinson, the freshman from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I can tell you he was definitely not anticipating returning that, but he did a solid job with it.
Yeah, he didn't go out on the field for that kickoff thinking he was going to make a play and definitely not make a return.
And so now North Carolina Wesleyan has really solid starting field position at the 42-yard line. And again, we've been talking about Southern Virginia's offense. North Carolina Wesleyan's offense has been moving the ball. They've been moving the ball effectively. They've made some big plays down the field. This half has been a little bit slower than the first. But now they want to up the ante a little bit. Timeout North Carolina Wesleyan. Obviously, they didn't like what they saw out there, with just 5 minutes left in this third quarter.
The third quarter, when we look at it, it's really been dominated by Southern Virginia on both sides of the ball. The defense has made 2 good stops, especially the one they stopped the last drive. It started at the 45 of North Carolina Wesleyan and got the ball back to their offense. So it took it on that long drive for the score.
And Southern Virginia, the pride of this team for the past few years since Coach Ed Militalo took over has been the defense. Defense has always been a very strong suit for Southern Virginia. And now today it feels like a lot of it's more coming together. The offense is flowing, the defense is doing what they do best. Even though it's sort of a rebuilding year for their defense, they're still doing Southern Virginia-esque things out there on the field.
Yeah, now we look here for the next 20 minutes of this game. What's going to happen? Can they gain some momentum that they can carry into the rest of the season?
You're absolutely right. Again, this being their first conference game, do you look at this and think, okay, we can try to run the table in our conference. Let's see what we can do here. Hand off to Crank, and he's got some space up the middle, past midfield, all the way down to the 40-yard line of Southern Virginia. That was a wide open hole for Crank to run through. And one of the offensive linemen for North Carolina Wesleyan, who was down and injured on the field earlier, number 70, is back on the field. That is Desmond Barnes. Good to see him back on the field. Hirschman rolling out to his left side. Tipped in the air. Great effort there. That is number 3, Stockton Ferguson.
It's a good defensive play to break up that pass there. You know, they had somebody open, but, you know, I think we're seeing that the Knights made some really good adjustments at halftime in being able to defend that short pass.
Absolutely. They have a linebacker that is keying on the eyes of Kirschman, trying to make sure that he does not have any open guys in the middle of the field, again, like you said, in those open spots. Because Hirschman, again, has been living in those flats areas, short middle field areas. Handing off to Crank once again. Crank's got some space once again, down to the 30. Finally brought down by Jamar Robinson.
You know, and again, a name that we talked about before the game and a little bit in the first half is Sean Washington. You know, we have not seen Kirschman being able to go to Sean Washington this second half yet.
We have not. You're absolutely right. In fact, I don't think he is. He just got on the field. He's on the near side. Again, I mentioned this before, but the Knights doing a great job with Jamar Robinson and all their defensive backs, keying on him, making sure that he doesn't burn them down the field. Hirschman hands it off to Crank. Runs over defender for a gain of 3 yards. And that'll be enough for a first down for the Bishops. I'm really loving the way that North Carolina Wesleyan is running the ball in this drive. They've been able to open up some great lanes for Crank on the outside, up the middle. They've really had their way with this defensive line right now.
They have. They kind of went away from it when those short passes really were working for them. They went away from the run a little bit.
Hirschman rolls to his left. He's got a man in the middle of the field. That time it is complete, and that is to number 18, that being Quentin Wright. That'll be another first down for the Bishops. So now back in red zone territory. Last time that the Bishops were here, the Knights were able to get a big stop, force a field goal attempt, which was missed. So let's see if the Knights can replicate that here. Their handoff to Crank up the middle, and he is stopped after a gain of about 2 or 3. I believe that was Vivai in on that tackle.
No, this is an important drive here for both teams, really. North Carolina Wesleyan obviously wants to cut into the lead, but the Knights here looking to come up with a defensive stop so they can maintain the momentum that they've created here in the second half.
So second down and 8. Handing off to Crank once again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's going to fall ahead for another 6 yards. He's still on his feet. It's going to make it a third down and manageable inside the 10. So now just under 2 minutes left in this third quarter. And, you know, with this third quarter coming to a close, you're right, they want to cut this lead, but they also want to develop some offensive momentum going into the fourth quarter and try to steal a game that, for the most part, has been somewhat dominated by Southern Virginia. Crank easily gets into the end zone, wide open hole up the middle. Touchdown, Bishops. I mean, I don't know what energy drink this offensive line for North Carolina Wesleyan had during the defense's time on the field, but I tell you what, it sure worked.
Yeah, and just before the snap, the fullback, he moved over to that left-hand side, and he led the way for Crank into the end zone there.
Here's the point after attempt. The kick is up, and it is good for number 14, Robert Rice. This makes it 13-7 in favor of the Knights. And the Knights now, after giving up that touchdown, there's a bit more pressure on you offensively. You had a 2-touchdown lead, you had a little bit of cushion, you can kind of breathe easy, but now you just have not even a touchdown lead, you have a 6-point lead. You have to really take care of the ball, take up a lot of time of possession, move the ball down the field, and even if you don't score, you put yourself in a situation where your defense can have a long rest and figure out what went wrong in that last drive.
Absolutely. The last thing you want to do here is have a short possession and make that defense go right back out on the field. You know, they've just, given up some points, need some time to regroup over here on the sideline, catch their wind. So this becomes a really important possession for Southern Virginia.
So a minute and 38 left in this third quarter. Back to receive for the Knights is Jarique Washington and Seth Massey. And kicking for the Bishops is number 17, Nolan Welloff.
You know, both head coaches will be wanting to see how their team responds to this. You know, can the North Carolina Wesleyan defense now follow up that touchdown and stiffen up and stop the Knight offense? And on the other side of the ball, can the Knight offense respond and pick up their defense after letting that touchdown score?
Here's the kick. Washington will receive. He's got some space on the left side. He's got blockers ahead of him. Washington's got some room. Got blockers going to the right side. Cuts back across the field. He's still on his feet. All the way down to the 40-yard line. That's the response you needed from this return team.
Yes, you definitely needed that. You know, great job by the return team to set that up and for Washington to have the field of vision to reverse that across the field.
I mean, we mentioned several times the dynamic athletic ability of Jarique Washington. There, it was on full display, juking out several defenders, following the blockers, great vision down the field, outrunning a defender on the far side. And now offensively, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, your playbook is wide open. You're at the Bishops' 40-yard line. Your running game is very effective. You've been able to get a surge in the offensive line. You're sitting pretty right now. Maxing the gun with Langtree to his side. Hands it off to Langtree. And he's going to fall forward for a gain of about 2. Now, one thing you cannot do if you're Southern Virginia is shoot yourself in the foot in this situation. Can't commit any penalties. Don't get too hot-headed. Don't try to talk too much trash. Just try to run your fundamental offense that you've been running so effectively all game long.
Yep, you really need to stick to it right here because you're starting the drive at their 40-yard line. You're not going to have an 8-minute drive here and take a lot of time off because you've only got 40 yards to go. But you really need to come away with some points right here.
Second down and 8. And also Langtree once again stopped right in his tracks. Puts him in a third down and long situation. And this third down play will be snapped before the end of the third quarter as play clock stands at 24 seconds. I would like to see Maxey try to target Johansson here on the near side.
Yeah, let your athletes make a play right here. That's what you're looking to have happen.
The play clock runs down. It'll be a delay of game. Again, that's another thing you can't afford to do. You got to keep your eye on that play clock.
On the offense, number 19, 5-yard penalty, replay.
That's a tough penalty to take on third down. You're already in third and long. Now you make it 5 yards longer.
And now if you're in this situation, what most coaches will do is they'll try to get maybe 5 or 6 yards, and if you want to go for it on fourth down, which you don't really have a kicker who can kick a field goal from this range, you can at least make it a manageable fourth down attempt.
Well, that's the end of the third quarter here.
As the third quarter comes to a close, we have a tight one here with the Knights having a 13-7 lead over the Bishops of North Carolina Wesleyan. The Knights having a third down and long situation here. Again, you don't want to take yourself out of a possibility of a fourth down attempt because, again, it's not a great punting scenario. You're already deep in their territory. You don't really have a kicker who can kick a field goal from that distance. So I would imagine maybe sneaking Cade Nelson or Jacob Wood out of the backfield for a quick dump, get about 4 or 5 yards on the right side of the field, and then make it to where it's maybe a 4th and 7, 4th and 6 scenario.
Absolutely. With the field change here at the quarter, now we'll have the wind. The Knights will have the wind at their backs. You will also have, you're not in 2-down territory necessarily, but you want to make it a 2-down situation. Right?
Exactly.
If they don't gain anything here, you're going to have to punt, which is not the outcome you wanted from this possession, obviously. So hopefully they've got that play, like you said, a little dump to Nelson, something where, a little 4-yard pass to Nelson, he may turn that into a 15, 16-yard gain.
And I hope that they, in the timeout, came up with 2 plays. and make it so where it's a hurry-up offense situation. Get one quick play for a couple of yards, then get back to the line of scrimmage really quickly. Maxey back to pass. Feel some pressure. He's going to throw it. Intended for Johansson across the middle, incomplete. Maxey was hit as he threw. Somehow was still a sort of accurate throw.
Broken up by number 5, Corey Hunter.
So 4th down and 13. The Knights offense is still on the field. And they did sort of what we expected them to do. They wanted to take up a lot of time. They wanted to give their defense a bit of a break. I believe maybe a false start on Southern Virginia.
Yep. You know, and I wonder if they were actually going to go for it, or maybe they figured, you know, a delay a game penalty here isn't the end of the world because we do have the wind at our back.
Yeah, backs you up a little bit, gives you some more room to punt down the field. Refs talking it over here because we did have some defenders come across the line of scrimmage, but I believe those in reaction to Southern Virginia.
Number 66 on the offense. 5-yard penalty.
Number 66 is the guilty party for Southern Virginia. Name is not listed on the roster that we do have. We will try to get that name to you as soon as possible. And so now, 4th down and 20, basically. You're going to punt it away. We want to try to pin them deep, and back to return for the Bishops is number 81. That is Mikhail Atterbury. Here's some people in the crowd saying, watch the fake. And 4th down and 20, I don't imagine that being incredibly possible, but crazy things have happened. Here's the punt, and that is a short punt going out of bounds. That's not necessarily what you want. Number 38, Aiden Hall, not happy with that kick as he makes his way to the sideline.
First down for the Bishops.
About the 30-yard line, it looks like.
And that's where the Bishops will set up shop early in this 4th quarter. Now, again, your defense has gotten a little bit of a break. You got to figure out how to stop this effective running game that the Bishops were able to have in this last possession they had. Again, they were able to utilize their fullbacks, pave the road for the running backs up the middle. They're going to hand it off up the middle, and again, he's got a surge up ahead for about 5 yards for Crank.
Carry for the Bishops by number 7, Trevon.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see here now is going back to one of the keys of the game is the tackling by the defense. I think North Carolina Wesleyan is basically going to give the ball to Crank here a little bit and challenge the Knight defense to stop him.
And again, we mentioned it before early on in the game when the Knights would make initial contact, but would get pushed back and allow a couple extra yards after contact. Now 2nd down and 5. Hirschman back to pass. He's going to throw it to the outside to the tight end once again. That is number 88, Alex Stack.
Catch by the Bishops, number 88, Alex Stack.
That'll be a 1st down for the Bishops.
Number 1, Jamar Robinson.
And so 1st down and 10 at their own 43-yard line. And so kind of counterbalance that fullback in the backfield. You got to imagine they maybe want to slide someone else on the inside, a linebacker maybe. Play action for Hirschman. Roll to his right side, complete. That is to number 2, Jaden Spruill.
The Bishops have moved into a little bit of a tempo offense too. They're not huddling up. They're not necessarily doing hurry up, but they're not giving the Knights an opportunity to substitute their personnel.
Exactly, and with the way they ran the ball effectively last possession, if you go in a hurry-up situation, the defense starts to tire out. That just makes it that much more of an effective strategy for you. So 1st down and 10 at the Knights' 43. Hirschman back to pass, throws to the sideline, incomplete. Defended by number 21, Nate Mattis. So they went back to Stack once again trying to attack those flats. I like the fact that the Bishops have seen things that have worked through the game, and they've made the adjustments accordingly. They thought, okay, we're running the ball effectively. Let's keep feeding the ball up the middle. Okay, how about the flats? Those are working pretty well. Let's stick with that. They've really gone with the flow and taken what the Knights defense has given them.
Yep. And especially now in the 4th quarter, they got to do that. Whatever's working, they got to make that work for the rest of the game.
And Crank falls ahead for another 2 yards.
Number 7, Trevon Crank with the carry for the Bishops.
Had a helmet fall off of a Southern Virginia defender. I believe that's number 44, Makali Tuanakavadra. He will have to come off the field for this play.
Stopped by the Knights, number 21, Nate Mattis.
So 3rd down and 8. Arguably the biggest 3rd down in the game.
Yeah, and that's one of the Knights' better defenders that had to come off the field there when his helmet came off last play.
You can imagine the Bishops will try to attack that part of the field. Hirschman throws right. Immediately hit by number 16, Colby Hyder, as it was complete to Crank. So stopped right in his tracks. You talk about tackling him as soon as you make contact. That's how that is done.
It was a very good play. Very well read by Hyder there.
So 4th down and 2. Bishops appear to be going for it. Got to watch the hard count if you're Southern Virginia's defense. And they're going to hand it off to Crank up the middle. He's got it easily. And a couple of more yards. And he's going to be stopped at about the 30-yard line. Now deep inside Knights territory.
Stopped by the Knights, number 3, Stockton Ferguson, and number 4, South Bassett.
Now we mentioned the red zone stop the Knights had in the first quarter against the Bishops. That was because the Bishops weren't running the ball that effectively. And if you're a team that runs the ball well like the Bishops are right now, it's hard to make those kind of stops. If you can't stop the run from up the middle, it's easy pickings for an offense.
That was a good hit in the backfield there by number 32 to stop him.
That is Hudson Duche.
37, 37, my bad.
And that, indeed, that'll be Robert Balboa.
It appeared that Crank had a little bit of room there, but Balboa was able to trip him up just as he got moving forward.
So 2nd down and 7. Hirschman's going to drop back pass. He's got a lot of pressure, tosses it up to his receiver. And that is deflected, well defended by Jameer Robinson. In and out of the hands of number 2, Jaden Spruill.
That was very well played by him. He wasn't able to get his head turned around, which would be a penalty. But so he let the ball hit the receiver's hands, and then he broke it up at that point. It was very well defended by number 1.
So now 3rd down and 7 at the Knights' 27-yard line. Now if you're North Carolina Wesleyan, if you don't get this, you're in kind of an odd situation here. Hirschman throws his right side. He's going to get stopped just short of the line to gain, make it a 4th down and 1. Sean Washington, the athlete we've been looking to see more of. The Knights are bringing in a couple of substitutes for the defense. And you basically know where this play is going to. It's going to the hands of Crank.
You would expect it to go into his hands. He's been the consistent runner all afternoon. They only need 1 yard.
And expect it to go to this left side. Essentially, wherever those 2 fullbacks line up, you can expect the ball to go to that direction. And Southern Virginia sees that, and they decide to call a timeout here. I do like the timeout because, again, you see what's happening. Maybe the players on the field aren't able to react to it. Maybe they aren't adjusting accordingly. Defensive coordinator Nate Lelau was thinking, I'm not liking it. Let's call it.
Well, it gets the whole defense on the same page. You know, maybe you got somebody thinking, they're going to try and throw that fade to the post or whatever. You know, that's likely not going to happen, and so they just want to make sure everybody knows, you know, number 7's going to get the ball here, and he's going to run hard. You know, it's up to us to stop him short of this 1st down marker.
And Crank so far in this game, Trevin Crank has 18 attempts for 83 yards gained, a net gain of 79 and 1 touchdown. He has been the bulldozer for that offensive unit so far today.
It'd be interesting to know what his stat is for how many yards that he has gained after contact.
See a couple of big bodies in there defensively for the Knights. Here you have the two fullbacks lined up on the left side. You see a couple extra defensive bodies on the left side too. And they're going to get caught offsides. A free play down the field. And a pass interference will be there too. So 2 defensive penalties on Southern Virginia in that 4th down play.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we had the nose tackle that jumped off sides, handed that free play, and the defender in the end zone really had no choice but to make sure that ball was not caught.
A very good point there. And I really like what North Carolina Wesleyan was doing there. Again, the hard count, trying to get them to jump off sides, and if they do, it doesn't matter what happens, just toss it up, see what happens. So the penalty against Tuana Cavadra is declined. So Jaha Freeman is guilty of the pass interference in the end zone. So very ample opportunity for the Bishops to score here on the 2-yard line. I don't know if you could have called a better play if you're North Carolina Wesleyan. Up the middle to Crank, and he walks in the end zone easily. Touchdown, Bishops. And now, in this situation, that missed PAT early in the first half for Southern Virginia really comes back to haunt them.
Yeah, usually the PATs are just a formality. That one wasn't, and now the Knights have an opportunity here. Maybe they can step up and block this and keep the game at a tie right now.
Kick will be attended by number 14, Robert Rice. The kick is up, and it is good, and the Bishops take the lead 14-13 with just over 10 minutes left in this 4th quarter. We talked about how early on Southern Virginia seemed to be dominating the 3rd quarter, right? They seemed to be dominating the 2nd half, but then all of a sudden, something happened where all of a sudden the Bishops realized we can run the ball. We can push the ball up the middle. We can assert our authority on this defense and gain about 4 or 5 yards per play. And they're also just playing very smart too. Again, that 4th down play I mentioned, hard count, toss down the field, try to get a pass interference. You couldn't really done a much smarter play in my opinion.
That was a simple play, but it was the right play to call.
Right.
Southern Virginia knew the play that was called. They knew they had to stop the run up the middle. But you always have that receiver out there just in case for that very situation right there. Somebody jumps off sides, now we throw it up and maybe something even better happens.
Absolutely, and so now the Knights, with just over 10 minutes left to play, they need a response here. They came up empty on their last offensive possession. Their drive was halted by penalties.
Yeah, like you said, I think, the Bishops realize that they have number 7 Crank on their side, kind of gotten away from him the 2nd and 3rd quarter. And now after they got down 13-0, they've been living and dying with him.
Washington on the return, trying to follow his blockers. He's going to push ahead just past the 30-yard line. Put the Knights in decent field position. Now, the Knights offensively, since their last scoring drive, has been kind of ice cold. They haven't seen a lot of things go right for them.
Nope, they've had a difficult time moving the ball since they scored that last touchdown. Seems like the running holes haven't been there like they were at that time and haven't had a lot of opportunity to throw the ball, really.
It's now 1st down and 10 at their own 31-yard line. Maxey fakes the handoff, has to run away from the defender, and it's picked off by North Carolina Wesleyan. Picked off by number 7, Benyon Williams. And that is the 2nd pick thrown by Maxey today, trying to force it to the sideline.
Unfortunately, I think if he had that one back, he'd throw that into the ground there. Throw that where nobody could catch it, live to see another day, especially in that field position.
Absolutely. Again, that's kind of like Young players are trying to make a play down the field. They're trying to bring the team back from being down by 1. And again, you got to know, it's like the famous song goes, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right?
Yep.
So now first down and 10 for the Bishops at the Knights' 38-yard line. They're handing off to Crank. Crank's got some space off the left side for a first down.
Number 7, Trevon Crank with the carry. It's good for a Bishop first down.
You know, the momentum has turned quite a bit here in this fourth quarter. I think right now you're looking for somebody on the Southern Virginia Knights defense right now to step up, make a play, and try and get momentum back onto their side.
And a similar thing happened to Southern Virginia last week against Randolph-Macon. They were tight in that game with the number 19 team in the land. And then the third quarter came around and there was a collapse. There's been a quarter in each of these games for Southern Virginia where things just kind of go wrong and they sort of go away from what they should be doing. And that's what this fourth quarter has been. And so now second down and 9 for the Bishops.
You know, in second and 9, it's an opportunity for someone on the defense to step up, make a play, put them in a 3rd and long, and maybe they can get out of here without giving up any points.
And Trevon Crank has 20 attempts for a total gain of 82 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. He has become the weapon that North Carolina Wesleyan needed offensively. They fake the handoff to him. Hirschman throws to the right side, completes the middle of the field, fumbled and recovered by Jamar Robinson. That's the play that they needed.
That's the play that they needed.
Robinson, Johnny on the spot, able to fall on the ball. I always say when I'm watching a football game like this, they need an interception, they need a fumble, they need a turnover here. And a lot of times that's wishful thinking, but that's exactly what the Knights got. So now
but a lot of times, those fumbles don't happen just by chance. The defense is swarming to the ball. They know the ball's in the red zone in that case, right? The fumble's at the 12-yard line. So they're doing anything they can. You know, pull the ball out, whatever they can do.
And Maxey now has a chance to come out here. Jacob Wood with a assault, and he hurdles a defender up ahead for a first down. I feel like every decent running back out there has one play on their highlight reel where they hurdle a defender. That was Jacob Woods.
Yep, that was his. And number 77 with the big block there to break him free to the outside.
That was number 77, Cambridge Bingham. And I was about to say before that play happened, Maxey, after throwing the interception last possession as a freshman, how do you respond? How do you come back out on the field and try to make sure that you just run the offense you need to, try not to make too many big plays or try to do too much? They're going to hand off to Wood once again. He's going to break it to the left side. He's got some more space. Another first down for Southern Virginia. Third quarter, it was Cade Nelson. Fourth quarter, right now, it's Jacob Wood.
Well, there you go. And like you said, Maxey, he's young. He makes a mistake. At the end, it didn't really hurt him. You know, it cost him about 20 yards of field position. And then what does coach do? You know, let's run the ball a couple times, give him some room, get his feet back under him. So, okay, give him some time to forget that mistake. And now, you know, they're moving the ball.
Now first down and 10. They're going to hand it off to Nelson. He's going to cut it back up. He's going to plow through a defender for a 6-yard gain. The Knights kind of realizing, hey, we ran the ball pretty well in that third quarter. Why don't we just go back to that?
And you got Wood and both and Langtree, that both are more of the speedy runners.
Right.
And then you got Nelson, you know, so you get Wood to pick up that last run. You know, get the defense a little tired and then run Nelson right at him.
So now second down and 4 at their own 41-yard line.
If I was tired, I wouldn't want Cade Nelson running at me.
I don't think I'd want Cade Nelson running at me if I was tired or energetic. Maxey rolls up to his right. Throws on the dime. Gain of about 4 yards, close to the third down marker, caught by number 9, Jarique Washington. Looks like it's third down and a short 1 to gain.
And for Maxey, that's an important completion right there. After the interception like we spoke about, they've moved the ball, give him an easy little throw. He was right on the money with that for a nice little gain and leaves us in third and short.
It's now third down and 1. They got Cade Nelson in the backfield. And they're going to hand it off. Blasting through the offensive line was number 92. That was Malik Anderson. But he's able to break that tackle and get the first down. I mean, my goodness, Malik Anderson came in there untouched and nearly blew up the play.
Oh, he hit him 3-4 yards in the backfield.
But instead, first down and 10 at their own 46-yard line. The Knights barely avoid disaster. Maxing again with Jacob Wood. They're going to hand off to Wood on the right side. He's going to put his head down for a gain of about 4. Before he's finally brought down by number 30. That is Eric Cooper.
And this becomes a big drive right now. You're down to just over 5 minutes in the game.
And if you continue to run the ball like you've been doing, that clock's just going to continue to count down and count down.
Which works in your favor as long as you can cash this in the end, you know, when you get down to the red zone.
Hand it off to Wood up the middle. He's got some room. Breaks some tackles all the way to the other side of the 40. Or 45, excuse me. Close to a first down. And what I'm loving from Jacob Wood today is the fact that he's seeing the blocking, and although he's plowing into some openings that he's been given, he's also looking for better ones. He's searching, he's patient.
He hasn't been afraid to bounce it outside if he needs to, or cut back.
Right. And that's one thing you love to see from running back, patience. Let the play develop in front of you and see what opens up.
Yeah, I think when you make those decisions to bounce or cut back before the play's really developed, it looks like it ends up being a bad decision.
Timeout. Southern Virginia.
And so the Knights will call a timeout with just over 4 minutes left to play in this game. A one-score game. I mean, Saturday, nice, beautiful afternoon, college football, tight ball game. Could you ask for anything more? I mean, honestly.
No, this is a pretty good view right here. We look out over the fields here, Southern Virginia campus here in Buena Vista. The weather's perfect. You couldn't ask for anything better.
You really couldn't. I mean, again, beautiful blue hills, and the football game being as tight as it is, it's been great back and forth. I mean, we've seen highlight plays and great play from both sides, different stars from both sides of the field. It's been overall just a very fun game. So now, third down and a short one at the Bishop's 45-yard line. See a lot of bigger bodies on the defensive line for North Carolina Wesleyan. Got Langtree in the backfield. Francois in motion. Maxwell's out to his left side. He's got nothing, so he's going to try to run for it. And it looks like he'll get it. And a penalty on the field.
Where that is, that looks like it might be face mask or something like that. Came in from the side official where the tackle was made.
Exactly. Right after the tackle was made, it hit the turf. So it looks like you were right. Either a face mask or something with the tackle.
During the play, personal foul.
Indeed it is. You're right, Colby. And we talk about the patience of Jacob Wood on run plays. I love the patience that Maxie showed right there. He was one, the route to develop on the left side. Nothing was going open, and he realized, okay, you know what? I'm just going to tuck in and run, get the first down.
He only had a half yard to make. There wasn't any reason to try and do something that wasn't quite there. And he knew he could get there. And at the end, it's a 1 yard gain plus a 15-yard penalty, and the Knights are in business here.
It's now first down and 10 at the Bishop's 28-yard line. Maxwell's out to his right, got some pressure. He's got the screen. And tough running from number 45. My goodness, Trinity Stores. There is a flag on the field, though. It's in the Southern Virginia backfield.
Roughing the passer.
Another defensive penalty for North Carolina Wesleyan.
First down.
Again, Maxey staying tough in the pocket, delivering the ball to Stores. And I just loved the strong finish to that play by Stores. I mean, he kept churning his legs. My goodness, it was a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Maxey has been sacked this game, which speaks to the job that the offensive line is doing.
Absolutely.
He has been hit a couple times, but it seems like every time he's been hit he's gotten the throwaway for a completion.
Again, that was one of the keys this game that we talked about, protecting the quarterback with this young offensive line. Langtry's got nothing up the middle, and he is slammed down after, looks like he got back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about it.
Number 30, Alex Langtry on the rush for the Knights.
So approaching 3 minutes left in this ball game.
Tackled by the Bishop.
The Knights are more than content to take their time.
Charles Sias.
Looks like he may have lost 2 yards on that carry, make it 2nd down and 12. He's got Nelson in the backfield with him. Washington and Johansson on the near side. Maxey back to pass. Throws right to Johansson. Penalty flag incomplete, but it looks like we might have some defensive pass interference.
Yeah, from our vantage point, it looked like the defender had his arms all over Johansson's back there as he went to make the play on the ball.
And the rule is the penalty, it takes place in the end zone, so it'll be placed on the 2-yard line if that is indeed the case.
Going to play, pass interference, defense number 7.
That was against number 7, Benyon Williams. Benyon Williams, aside from that penalty, has had a great game. He's caught both interceptions that Maxey has thrown in today's game. It's now 1st down and goal at the 2-yard line, 2.5 minutes remaining. And like I said, when the Knights took possession of this ball, I believe there was about 8 minutes left in the game. It took about 5.5 minutes off the clock. That's the kind of drive you love to see, especially to capitalize on this play right here. Max throws right to Johansson. Trying to take advantage of the height that Johansson has.
Well, you're in a great situation right now. Even though you're down by 1, you got the ball on the 2-yard line, 2.5 minutes to go. You know that they want to punch it in for that score and take that touchdown lead. But you're going to run another, minute or so off the clock in doing that. I think the Knights want to score right here and then put the game into their defense's hands.
And so you have Caden Nelson in the backfield. Play action with Max. He's going to try to run it in. He's going to get stopped short. I like the idea. You had Nelson in the backfield, try to do some trickery with just him being on the field like we mentioned before. But the defense for North Carolina Wesleyan was not fooled.
No, they did a good job of staying home, not being fooled. You would have expected Nelson, ball on the 2-yard line. You expect your big back to get the ball and bowl up the middle. But the defense stayed home and was able to bring Maxey down for, with no gain.
And the pass is batted down at the line of scrimmage. They tried to play action pass and tried to get it, I believe, to Chase Wester. So 4th down and 2, and they're going to settle for a field goal try here. I'm honestly shocked they didn't hand the ball off to Nelson at least one of those attempts. I'm
surprised that we had 3 plays and they were all throwing plays, especially with 2.5 minutes left, So now we've only, the clock's down at 1:46.
Joseph Kim to attempt the field goal for the lead. It is up. No good. The kick is no good. And so the Bishops will take over at the 2-yard line with 1 minute and 43 seconds remaining. Now, obviously, hindsight is 20/20. But again, I'm absolutely baffled that as well as the Knights have run the ball today, that they only tried to do it once, and that was with Maxey, who'd only run it one other time or two other times in this game. In fact, they'll move the ball back up to the 20-yard line. But I just can't believe they didn't try to run it with Nelson.
You know, each of the running backs has had good carries this game.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I'm a little shocked that at least one of those plays, you know, there wasn't a run other than with Maxey on that one.
And
play
Crank
action.
shut down at the line of scrimmage. In fact, he's going to lose a couple of yards.
Frank with the carry.
And the Knights only have one timeout left, which is the difficult part here.
Stopped by the Knights, number 99 to the 95 line.
And it looks like they will use that final timeout with 1.5 minutes left to play in this one.
Timeout, Southern Virginia. The third and final charge time of the half.
And so now, you have 1.5 minutes. It's 2nd down and 12. I imagine, well, one of two things could happen. Either the Bishops could try to end it right away, get a first down, take away any possible hope, or they rely on Crank to run out the clock as much as they can and then punt it away with very minimal time left.
I would imagine, you know, the odds are they're going to go with Crank because he's been successful. He's gained yards after contact. One first down, like you say, that ends the ball game. At the same time, the Knights can't stop the clock again. So 2 more runs with him. They're going to run that ball down, run the clock down to well within 20 seconds.
So now coming out of the timeout, again, 2nd down and 12 for the Bishops. And the Bishops will take a knee. And just 2 more knees should do it. Well, now it's 3rd down and 13.
Brings up 3rd and 14.
So I think what we see here is they take a knee, the clock will run down, take another knee, and then punt the ball away with around 8 seconds left in the game.
And you're probably going to punt it out of bounds or really a pooch punt in the middle of the field so it rolls because you don't really want a real good chance at a return. Because the Knights have had good returns so far. I mean, Jarique Washington has shown he's more than a capable return man. So you definitely do not want to punt it in his direction. So again, 3rd down and 14 for the Bishops. They have to run a play here. And again, I would be hard-pressed to think they would pass the ball because that has a chance of stopping the clock, giving Southern Virginia more time. So they're going to run the ball one more time. And they're going to wind it down as much as they can. And they'll call their last timeout, like you said. Very limited time left on the clock.
I wouldn't be surprised if you just see the quarterback take a couple steps back, kneel deeper in the backfield. Once the referee reset the ball, it's probably going to be under 40 seconds.
You are exactly right. That is indeed the case. And that should do it, as that makes it 4th down. And so North Carolina Wesleyan, as the time winds down, will get their first victory of the season, a 1-point nail-biter over the Knights of Southern Virginia. They move on to 1-3, and the Knights move on to 0-4. I mean, as a opener for your conference, I mean, could you ask for a tighter game? Could you ask for a better game? I don't think so.
For the most part, it was a pretty well-played game. I think both teams had times when the momentum was on their side, and it showed, and that's when they scored their points. And both teams had opportunities to maybe run away with it or put some distance between themselves and the other team.
And I think absolutely the player of the game has to go to Crank, right? Trevin Crank of North Carolina Wesleyan. He ended the game with a net gain of 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. He took over in that second half for North Carolina Wesleyan. And for Southern Virginia's side, You got to give it to either Cade Nelson and then, of course, Maxie as well for coming in here and doing the job that he did in his first start as a freshman. There's a lot to commend on both sides in this game. Like you said, overall a pretty clean game, very entertaining. Both sides showed a lot of heart in this one, to say the least.
Yeah, it's one of those that either team that lost this game was going to be disappointed in the outcome. You know, everybody's always disappointed in a loss, but
Right.
14-13 ball game. There's plenty of opportunities to think back and say if that play would have gone differently, or something different, ball bounced a different way at some point of the game. But yeah, I agree with you. Crank's got to be the player of the game. Of those 94 yards, how many of those were gained after contact? I'd say probably 80% of them.
I think you're probably right about that one. And so we appreciate all you folks for tuning into today's ball game. If you haven't already, be sure to leave us a like, subscribe, click the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of the Southern Virginia athletic activities that are hosted on this channel. We appreciate you all for watching. God bless, and go Knights.